think one of the beautiful things when you look at the saints right throughout history is that they're so diverse. They're not all exactly the same. Some are great intellects, great intellectuals who use their mind and their understanding to proclaim Jesus Christ. But then you then see others who are athletic, who are strong, who use all of their strength. You see some who became great academics and started universities and teaching orders, and others gave their life as martyrs for the faith. It's one of the beauties of our Catholic faith, that it brings together every person, whatever their background. And we're called, as this gospel reminds us, to love God with all of our mind, all of our soul, all of our heart, all of our strength. One of the interesting things over the last 40 years or so, there's been a real shift in the workplace. And we've seen this it's had an impact upon marriages as well. And we're seeing this within the life of the church. It's some of the studies that I've done in business studies. You go back about 40 years ago, and in business they would often use the language of loyalty. An employee was loyal to a company, the company was loyal to the employee. The language then in human resources then shifted about 25 years ago to a language of commitment. That people are committed. And then in the last 10 years or so, they've moved the language to a language of engagement. Go back 40, 50 years ago, people were loyal for their whole life. Then 20 years ago, people were saying, oh, well, we're having second careers, those sort of things. So people become committed for 10 years. And now we're sort of engaged for 9 months, 10 months. The gospel's asking us not just to be engaged, committed or loyal. It's asking us to enter into a covenant where we use all of our being, all of our existence and life for God's glory. Not just for 5 minutes. Not just to say, oh, well, I'll be a Christian and help God if it works out. Or if a better offer comes up, well, I might go down some other path. No, we're called to give everything to the life of God. To serve God with all our ability, all of our strength, our knowledge, mind and will. And I think this is in one sense it's a very easy thing to say, but the way it's actually lived out is such a challenge. Every generation, every person at every particular position in their life needs to consider, how are they loving God? Are we loving God with all of our strength, our knowledge, our understanding, our resources? Or are we putting God at a convenient level? And then we're called to then love our neighbours as we love ourselves. That's a hard thing to do as well. Pray for ourselves, but pray for others, for young people. Because I sort of look at the church at times and I get a little concerned. I say, I think, what's going to become of the church in a generation? In just a few generations, we've seen the language in our world shift. From people being loyal to the situation whereby we understand, well, people might be here for 5 minutes, but then they might go as well. What is our faith about? Are we just expecting people to be engaged as spectators for 5 minutes or 10 minutes? Or do we actually, or is Jesus Christ desiring us to be in a relationship, a covenant that cannot be removed, where we give everything of ourselves to the work of God? And the work of God is far better than any work that happens in a business or in anywhere out in the world. The work of God is the work of love. So let us love God with all of our heart, with all of our soul, with all of our mind, with all of our strength. You look at each of the saints, they give everything. All of their abilities, their gifts, they use that for the service of God. Let's do that today. To dedicate today as a day where we serve entirely in everything we do from now through to the end of the day for the work of God.